the only man that's got the same move with every club. I'm the only golfer with the feeling of greatness. I'm the only golfer living that's got the master move and the feeling of greatness.
Hey, it's Todd Graves back here with the Feeling of Greatness podcast. I am excited about so much stuff going on, and I thought I would hop back on here. And I have a special guest in the studio today, and I'll introduce him here in just a minute. But here's what's interesting about who I have in the studio today. It's amazing how the world kind of puts things together for you. There's a metaphysical side of me that says that when you are passionate and you put good ideas out there and you stay on your mission, that the right people come along to help you accomplish your mission. And who I have in the studio today is one of those guys that is definitely the right guy in the mission that we're on. And I've really resonated with him, and his name is Bryan Durbin. And Bryan is the architect that is creating the masterpiece of the Performance Center, the Graves Golf Performance Center, based on all these principles of Mo Norman. And Bryan came along, just so you know, that I have in the studio today because our minds sync up together when we talk about Mo and what we're trying to create at the old Coffee Creek Golf Course, which is now the Graves Golf Performance Center. And we've been under construction now for 3 months, 4 months. And Bryan is in charge of building the experience really for everybody that shows up at the Academy. And so I wanted to bring Bryan into the studio today and just discuss the big picture idea of what people are going to experience when they come here to learn this idea. But let me start by telling a story, because this story, Bryan, you may not know this story, but I thought I would just kind of reverse where Mo Norman even came into the picture in this thing. And now we're getting ready to build a monument to him, basically, right? So in basically 1991, I had just graduated college and I went and played on the Asian tour. So imagine this 24-year-old kid leaving college, going to play in God knows where, never left the United States in my life. And I'm in Southeast Asia trying to play and make money playing golf. And, had a little bit of success. I wouldn't say I was a world beater by any means, but had some success. But when I returned to the United States, I said, I got to get better. I got to become a better golfer. And so I started just, doing this investigation of who are the best coaches in the world and who are the best players in the world and who do I need to work with and how do I get better? And so I ended up working with some of the best instructors in the world, and 3 years later got worse. I basically worked my way into being where I almost couldn't even play golf anymore. Very frustrated, thinking, God, I worked with the best instructors in the world and I'm getting worse at this game. I was better before I started working with the instructors. So I'm at this kind of breaking point. Do I quit playing golf? Do I just go get a job? Do I just go on with my life? And then I run into this guy named Mo Norman. And, we can go through that story of how I did that. But friends of mine, Mo is this mysterious character that was in Canada. We didn't know if he was real, but people would talk about how great he was. Well, a friend of mine comes back from playing the Canadian Tour and ran into Mo and watched Mo hit golf balls and do a clinic. I think Mo would have probably been in his early 60s at the time. And he says, you got to see this guy hit a golf ball. And he shows me this videotape, and I was like, wow, that golf swing right there is the most efficient way I've ever seen anybody hit a golf ball. It was common sense, but to me at the time, since I had worked with so many instructors that had taught a different way of hitting a golf ball, so I immediately just gravitated and said, I'm going to learn what I see on this video. I didn't know Mo Norman from Adam at the time. I just saw him swinging a golf club on video and finally put a face to the greatest ball striker in the world. So I spent a year in 1993 just hitting golf balls, watching this video and mimicking what I was seeing on this video, and immediately started seeing improvement in my ability to play the game of golf. And then fast forward a year from that, I actually had an opportunity to go finally meet Mo for the first time in person and watch him do a clinic in person. And I walked straight up to him at the clinic, and here he is, this 64-year-old guy. And I said, you're the best I've ever seen. He goes, I know, I'm the best in the world. And I said, how did you learn to do that? And he said, hard work, can't buy it. And so I developed a relationship. And for the next 10 years, I spent my time spending as much time as I could with this mysterious character that was so damn good at hitting the golf ball. And yeah, he held secrets, but again, I don't call them necessarily secrets. To me, what he figured out in the golf swing was just an easier way to do this natural way of hitting a golf ball. It's just, why don't more people do it this way? Just because I've been like I was taught a conventional method, and most unconventional method was actually a very natural way to hit a golf ball. That's the long story short. I don't know if you knew all that about me. I know you knew some of that, but fast forward now to 2023. And for the last 2.5 years, how long have we known each other?
3 years.
3 years. So 3 years ago, I just met you at the property, basically.
Right.
And the idea was, hey, if I buy this, can you help me build this? And
right.
And I don't know you from Adam, but you're just enthusiastic. Said, man, this would be awesome. Matter of fact, the property that we built this on, you used to go fishing on.
Yeah, when I was in high school, some kids I went to school with, that was like their grandparents' house and their farm. And we would go over there and traipse through the ticks and bushes and drag this 12-foot flat-bottomed little John boat up through those ponds and fish.
Yeah, because this is the middle of nowhere at the time.
Back then that's where we went in high school to Neck. There was nobody out.
Right.
There was nothing out there.
Yeah, it was nothing. It was country. It was country.
And it was vacant, and then oak tree.
Yeah.
Which was set on purpose out there,
way
away
out
from
there.
everything.
Exactly. So imagine this farmland, basically, that a little past that was this really high-end country club put out in the middle of nowhere just for exclusive members to be. And then you have this farmland that you spend all your time on when as a kid. Well, you show up and you're like, hey, this is an old golf course that closed down, and now we're going to build something cool here. And then I started telling you about Mo Norman and my history with him and what we can do. And you get super excited. And then, you become the architect of the project. And we've gone through how many iterations of this damn building? These two buildings?
If I printed out the various plans that we've put together, which is actually a great thing because it's a testament to your willingness to vet every potential idea and not leave any stone unturned. We'd have a stack of paper about 30 foot tall.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got.
Yeah. Well, the problem with the project was that it's an open slate. It's basically a canvas. We actually said that's a quote we use. It's a canvas. What do you want to draw on this canvas?
Well, and because it isn't like, say, a house or a restaurant or something that has these relatively defined parameters and you can plug them into place and go to town and you just kind of build the park based on what you know. We're doing something that's a little unusual. When I'm talking to my colleagues and my peers out there and they're wanting to know, what are you up to these days? Because you're always doing something crazy. I'm doing a golf school, and they're like, doing a what? And so we're actually kind of building a kit of parts that can be used in the future. Not that they're going to do this, maybe they will, but like we're kind of writing a book, so to speak, on how a golf school could be put together and the parts and the pieces and the elements that make it what it is. And the foundation we're building on, because of who you are and what you've built up to this point, really validates our process.
Yeah.
So it's kind of an exciting, interesting thing. It's kind of getting to create our own little market sector.
It is. And it's, we're playing around with some things that look, it's so funny. One of my friends came to me one day and he says, well, is this going to work? I was like, I have no idea. Like, I never know. Like, I never know if things are going to work. Like, that's not why I do things. I don't do things with a guarantee things are going to work. Nor do you.
Right. No. Well, and that's kind of a funny parallel in our lives, if particularly professionally. I've never been in a situation where no was ever the answer. It's always been, how are we going to make this happen? Budget's tight. So how do we make this happen? No one's ever done that before. Great. This is my project. No one's ever done this before. Great. This is my solution.
Yeah.
So that's kind of.
Well, that's why I think you and I get along so well because I have no idea how to do any of this stuff. And I don't, that doesn't stop me from doing it. Like, that's just like, we'll figure this stuff out as we go. Right.
I mean, the buildings in and of themselves are not, there's nothing crazy complex or unusual about them. It's organizationally and functionally how we're going to organize them so that they work within the realm that you need them to. And that's the challenge for, when I was first approached, obviously I'll always say yes to a golf project because I love golf and the whole philosophy that goes along with it. And then when it was like, well, but now this is not really a clubhouse project. And I'm like, what do you mean? It's a golf project without a clubhouse? What the hell are you talking about? This can't be. And then we start really digging into it. I'm like, whoa, this is better. This is like a far more dynamic clubhouse with far more, with a larger reach that I don't think anybody's done anything like this. Not like quite like this.
Well, here's what's interesting. The process we had to go through, like when I first met you was, hey, look, I own this land, right? But now I got to go raise some money to build this project. The land was easy, it really was. Probably the easiest thing I've ever done is buy a bunch of land in Edmond because it's so valuable that it's like a bank will give you money on that stuff easy. But when I say, by the way, we're going to build this 6-hole golf course. It's a training center. And we're going to take this really valuable piece of land that you should go build a bunch of houses on.
Right.
And you basically should go develop this real estate and make $20 million. And we're just going to stick a golf course on it and make it a training center. The bank's like, whoa, wait a minute. Like, why the hell would you do that?
Yeah. Well, right. Well, and you and I have discussed this before. It's hard to validate grass.
You can't do it.
And what the cost of that is and why you would do it. It's so.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I'm like, well, we're going to do this. And, if it doesn't work out, we'll put those homes on there, but let's make this thing work. And so, but it's fun because we're watching this thing come together now. I get excited when I see those buildings. I go out there now. Just explain to me, because I want to get into the Mo trunk Cadillac, the Cadillac trunk, but let's walk them. Let's just paint a picture for everybody right now of their experience when they come into the training center. Cause we had to build the road in. Now, right now we're in the process of building the road in, and then they're going to come into the property and they're going to have the training center. And what this place consists of is a beautiful 130-yard tee deck hitting out on the driving range with a practice short game area on one side, a massive practice green next to the building, and then a 6-hole training course. But as they come into the training center, let's start at the training center. So what do they experience inside the training center?
Well, it's kind of an interesting situation. When you process from the main entry, you're going to go down this long winding drive that's skirted on one side by a relatively deep creek. And then to your left, as you're approaching, you're going to start seeing this visual expanse, which will be the short game practice and your new tee deck along with the academy training building. So you're immediately going to get this feeling, this emotion when you pull up, because you're going to be seeing this beautifully manicured training facility. You're going to be approaching this new, it's a white building perched up on a hill as you're coming up with the big iconic Graves G, yelling out at you as you pull up. So when you're driving up to this, you're going to immediately feel this sense of something's happening. And then the way we've got the site laid out, once you get beyond that, is you basically just progress through, basically how how the facility is intended to function. All of your training is happening in one location, and then you dump into what I would call like your communal entertainment clubhouse component, and then nestled back kind of in a hidden area is all of your corporate area.
Behind the scenes.
Yeah, kind of behind the scenes. So everything is kind of front and center that's related to golf. And when you approach this, you're going to be seeing it immediately and you're going to engage. When you park, for instance, you get out of your car looking due east, there's going to be this beautiful driving range. Lots of berming, a big practice green right to the west. Immediately to your right, there is we were just talking about this, I think a 6,000 square foot, 7,000 square foot, really unique practice green that's kind of nestled into in
between the buildings.
In between the buildings. And it's kind of that's one of the beauties and exciting things about the golf course type project is getting to take advantage of the land. And we've got a really good golf course architect on the project, Colton Craig, who's been laying all these things out and really bringing all of that to life for us. So granting it's not a country club or a traditional muni golf course, you pull up to this, you're going to be seeing all of these structures and you're going to be seeing all this activity among many things, the golf course, the buildings, whatever actions going on around there. You know, it's going to be a very unique situation. And I think, you know, part of the emotion that's going into this relative to what we know as golf and the perceptions that go around it, all of this is kind of a borderline pomp and circumstance type situation, which keeps people excited about golf. People love the show of golf. And that's kind of what we're doing here, setting a stage for all of that.
So here's interesting to me because I look at golf from an experience standpoint a lot. And like I'm a member at the club and there's things that I love about the club experience. Matter of fact, when I was in college and I was a broke college guy, my dream was to be a member at this club. And now I'm a member there. But I always thought, man, I just love the feeling of driving into the golf course and then being able to grab my clubs and go hit a few golf balls on the range, then hop on the tee and play a few holes and just hit some putts and just be in my little universe of golf, which is why I love the game anyway. I believe golf's a meditation to begin with. I believe that's why you do this, is to escape your world, go into your little universe and play and practice golf and go hit chips and putts and just hang out and be in hitting good shots and watching the ball fly and all the things that go along with it. So my deal is that you leave your world behind and you have an experience, and that's why you're there, right? And so my goal, like for example, when we put where we put the parking is, I want to be able to walk right up to the tee. I don't want to have to go through a bunch of crap. They just remodeled a course here, Kicking Bird. What drives me crazy about Kicking Bird, as much as that facility, they put $20 million in that facility. What drives me crazy about it is you have to basically put your hiking boots on to go from the parking lot to the driving range. It's like, I got to cross a state to go from here to there. Right. And no one wants to, I mean, it's like, oh God. And so when you think about it, you're like, okay, I'm going to go to Kicking Bird, hit golf balls. What a pain in the ass. Right. So my goal was, look, you can pull up, go right up to the practice tee and start hitting golf balls, right? Be right on the tee.
Right.
The other thing, which is interesting to me, is from the range, you can go to the first tee and go hit your shot, and you can see if anybody's on the tee and just go over there and hit your shot.
Right.
That was important to me, is that you have access to the course. Somebody says, well, you have tee times. Hell no, we don't have tee times. Go over there and hit it, play, right?
Right.
Go play 1 hole, 2 hole, 3 holes. It's a training course. We want you to be able to come here and play. But here's what I love about the teaching building, which you've put together, is when you walk in there, there's huge murals of Mo inside, like Mo in the Coke bottle, and Mo bouncing the ball with his checkered pants on when you walk out of the bathroom.
Right.
These murals, you're going to go in there and have this, like, you're going to be engulfed in the legend, in the history of single plane and Mo Norman, which to me, that's why you're there.
Did you say engulfed?
Engulfed.
Oh,
It's a new word. We just created a new word. We always do this. ENGOLFED. We just, a new word. That'll be on the wall probably.
Get engulfed.
Get engulfed. I love it. Always that comes up in this crap. But yeah, and that's just the teaching building, right? So to me, again, circling back to this, why are you there? You know, what experience are you having? I think when you surround yourself with the right energies and environment, and, you know, you wouldn't want to, you can't become great at golf if you're not around great golf.
Right.
Right. You want to be around is one of the things that my club is, we're around great golfers. The club is built around great golfers. There's 20 tour players out there hanging out all the time. It's great golf that happens there. Right. And being around that environment and just the in that energy of just motivation, number one, just the spirit of it. And that's really important to me, is to create that spirit when we're out there, is that you're in around great golf. You're there to have fun, learn to play better, be around great players, get that whole experience when you walk in there. Yeah. So tell me about how you built as you walk into the clubhouse now.
So back when you and I first got connected on this, obviously I didn't know anything about Mo Norman. You know, I'd heard the name, but it was in passing and there was really very, very little interest or attention given to it. I immediately went and got the Feeling of Greatness book, and I'm a big Kansas City Chiefs fan. So I drive to Arrowhead just about every weekend, it seems like. So I immediately popped that into my Audible, and I'm listening to this book, and I'm like done with it in like 2 trips. I'm like amazed. And I'm like, I connect with this guy. I love everything about him and his philosophy and all of his little kooky behaviors. And then talking to you about him and you telling me about what you had experienced with him. And for whatever reason, it resonated with me, and I really latched onto it. So if you'll recall, we had the clubhouse administrative component pretty much designed in terms of how we were going to lay the things out and where the parts were going to be and where we're going to, how the building was organized. And I wish I could recall exactly what. I'm sure it was at Frenzy Brewing, drinking a beer one day, there was this inspiration, what do we do? How do we pay homage to this guy? And I remember you made a comment about, wouldn't it be cool? Oh, actually, I remember now. We were talking about potential other projects, and one of them was the Oklahoma Golf Museum. Yeah. And we were kind of kicking some things around. And then it was like, I think we almost was like, what if we did a Mo museum? And so that was actually the first time the building grew.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The first time.
It's done twice or 3. Yeah.
So having been inspired by the book, and now we've got this idea, how do we pay homage to the guy that's had this museum component? We started kind of laying out and pulling together some space on the site that would house this little museum, this little monument to Mo. So as we started laying all that stuff out, I don't know if you remember my original sketches or not, I'm like just messing around with some stuff. And there was a picture that we actually were using to this day, of Mo hitting the golf ball off of the Coke bottle. And in the background is his old Cadillac. Mm-hmm. And you showed me a picture of him sitting on a bumper, like putting on some shoes, I recall. And in the trunk, the trunk lid's open. You can see inside, you see like golf clubs and golf balls and shoes. And I think the joke was at one time, there was like a toaster in there because he had won this toaster at like some Pro-Am in Ontario or something. So he's got all this stuff mashed in there. And it was my first crazy ass idea. I was like, I know what we're going to do. We're going to go buy, I think we haven't established what year the Cadillac is yet, but we're going to go
71 DeVille, something like that.
We're going to go buy this Cadillac and we're going to chop it in half. And I remember you looked at me and you're like, what? I was like, we're going to buy this Cadillac. We're going to chop it in half and we're going to stick it into the wall. So just the rear end of this car sticking out of the wall, we're going to open up that trunk and we're going to get that picture and we're going to recreate that picture to really illustrate. I mean, I think that helps.
What's so funny about this idea? Because I was, when Mo passed away, people were his stuff was just like, people were, family was getting some of it. And his nephew came to me and goes, hey, do you want Mo's pants? I got some of Mo's pants in his clothes. I'm like, hell yeah. Because I knew at some point
right.
that I would be, and so I got some of his pants, some of his shoes. I got some of the stuff. I wish I had more. I wish I had because his trunk was full of all his shoes. Like he literally had, there's pictures where I think I have a few pictures when I was hanging out opened his trunk, 20 pair of shoes just stuffed in the trunk with a box full of all these golf balls. One time I played golf with Mo and, every time we got to the next tee, Mo would just disappear. He'd just go disappear. And then we'd go, where'd Mo go? And he'd come out and he'd have pockets full of golf balls. Like he'd go hunt golf balls in the weeds. He'd have like burrs. He had burrs hanging off his shirt and he had like his pants are all ripped up because he'd walk around getting golf balls. Then he'd take all these balls and dump them. He had this mentality of like finding golf balls, like when he walked around the golf course. And so his trunk was full of golf balls and shoes and 40 golf clubs in a thing. And then all this cash stuffed into the little compartments. And
right.
That's his trunk. He lived out of it. It's all his stuff and he traveled out of it. And his back seat was heaped up with all his clothes and magazines. And maybe there was a trophy stuffed under there. And remember his master's pin, which I have, which in the glove box, and I have him look at it. This car is basically his home.
Right.
And so you have this trunk full of this amazing stuff.
Well, I actually identify with the searching for golf balls, and you may appreciate this as well. I don't know what it is about the magnetism of a golf ball, but as you know, we're out there tearing up acres and acres of land, and there's golf balls everywhere. And I can't not walk over to it and like kick it at least.
Me too.
I have to go. I'm like, what? Oh, golf ball.
When I was a kid,
it's something I hadn't seen before.
I know it's like a treasure hunt, because like I was watching them tear the range up, and as the dozer is moving through the dirt, this is an old driving range, and balls are just rolling out. I mean, hundreds of balls are just rolling into the dirt and stuff, the little range balls. It's just, I don't know what it is about finding golf. Hey, I remember my dad and I played golf when I was younger, and it wasn't how well we played. It was how many balls did we find,
Right.
It was just like, I found a good one.
Yeah. I brought my nephew out to the job site last week just to he's a big golf enthusiast. And I was giving him a hard time. I was like, hey, anytime you see a yellow ball with a black stripe, those are high dollar. Pick those up.
Yeah. There's thousands of them.
He just looks at me and shakes his head.
No. Well, unfortunately, the course has been closed. So those are 6-year-old golf balls at least out there. Right. So they're not in great shape, but yeah. No. So when do you think, right now we've gotten pretty close to the teaching building. I mean, I'd say we're about a month away from that being really wrapped up and looking good. When do you think the clubhouse? I'm really looking forward to us getting in that clubhouse. So tell me the process here, because a lot of people don't understand. Man, it takes a lot to put this stuff together.
Yeah,
and by the way, this is an old maintenance building. It's a 7,000 square foot steel structure that they use as a maintenance building. It's structurally very good, but it looks like a shithole. I mean, it looks awful.
Right. It's an interesting problem. So there's some nostalgia because of the course that it's on to maintain the old maintenance building, but it poses some god awful problems. One of the things as you have become very, very familiar with recently, when they built that building, they went in and poured the footings for the CMU block dividing walls internally. And then they came back after the fact and poured the slab. Well, nobody was paying very much attention to when they poured that slab. So when we busted out all the walls to open up the clear space for the new organization we're putting in there, we discovered that one half of the building slab was like 2.5 inches higher than the slab on the other side. So east to west, there's like this 2-inch drop. Well, that doesn't work very well for new office space, new clubhouse. There's this inherent trip hazard built into it. So we had to rip all that out so that we could have a good base to build everything on. The process itself is not terribly complex. It's more time consuming than it is hard. It's
permitting. It's all the stuff you deal with behind the scenes that it's like people are going to walk into this building and say, God, this thing's beautiful. Look at the beautiful floor. And you and I are going to be like, yeah, you should have seen this thing like a year ago.
Well, and that's part of the excitement of the project, particularly that building for me, is what you and I have grown so accustomed to seeing and what we recognize and realize. It's actually going to be lost on 90% of the people that are going to see it.
Well, it's interesting. I remember you and I walked into the clubhouse, and I was looking up at the metal beam coming through. I'm like, can we expose that a little bit? Just so it's still there, because I want to have a little memory of it.
Yeah.
Instead of just putting a ceiling up, let's expose the beams a little bit. I think it's cool to do stuff like that.
If only we could have saved something as a memento out of that building.
Well, we could have. There's so much stuff we could have saved.
I'm teasing you.
There's a garage door. Let me tell you this story real quick. So I tell Bryan one day we're in there, and they have this beautiful, amazing, most incredible garage door I've ever seen in my life. It was this light blue, and I love the color blue. And I mean, it would make my heart sing every time I would see it. I'd walk in there, and there's this, and I said, Bryan, whatever you do, I know we're going to tear this out, but please save this blue door. It means so much to me. Then Tony tears out the building, and I walk in there, and the blue door is gone. I'm like, where's my blue door? And now I cry myself to sleep every night. To ask my wife, it's like, I just can't get over it. And I told you one day, I was like, I don't know if we'll ever get over this blue door that you tore out that never. So, and I know you feel really bad about it, so I don't want to rub it in or anything.
I truly do. To this day, it irritates me. Of all the things, and we specifically spoke about save that door, high five, rock and roll. We got this door saved. And then in all honesty in my own defense, we got so damn excited to tear something up. I'm like, tear that up. It's go to town. Demo. Let's go. And then like the next day you're like, hey, wink, wink. Where's my door?
Well, and I know someday, and I know what you'll do to me after we get this whole project done, some blue door will show up somewhere. You'll paint something blue for me.
But no, it's, growing up in Edmond and having seen that site develop into what was the Coffee Creek golf course. And I played it in high school. I mean, that was my family and I played that golf course quite a bit. And then of course I still live in Edmond. Seeing it all come back and be used for something that's dear to my heart in terms of golf. And then of course, getting to be the designer to put all this together. It's a cool, unique thing. And we're taking advantage of some traditionally golf facilities. And it's almost like we're enhancing or embellishing what it really was. We're taking this old crusty building that for all intents and purposes, we probably should have tore down.
No. We love it.
But we said, no, by God, we're going to take you and we're going to lift you up. We're going to give you new shoes and a new jacket.
Yeah.
And it's going to be this very cool facility. So it's got inherently, aside from, so it ties in with the whole concept of what we're doing. The lore, the story that is Mo and who he is and what he was about and how that affected your life. We're just taking all of these things and they have this built-in authentic feel about it. And it's all real. I mean, there's no contrivance here. This is all actually golf. It was always golf. It's always going to be golf. What's
been hard on Graves Golf in our company, and this has been hard for the last couple of years, is because when we're not all in one facility, like we have multiple offices, we have a studio, then we have these offices, which are kind of administrative offices. Then we train and teach at the golf course, which is away from here. So we really have 3 offices, right? And the synergy of a company is difficult because you have the one team here and one team down there, and then the whole team has to leave to go to, it's the incredible experience that we're going to be able to produce from a facility where we're all in the same place. Like I'm watching the meetings here this morning and the synergy of the team being together. Well, that's massive for what you understand better than anybody is the creatives being in the creative environment where ideas are popping in and people are expanding ideas. That doesn't happen well when we're scattered everywhere. And to create a great experience for customers, one of the things that, I was listening to a podcast recently, I think it was Joe Rogan and he was in there, and I think Mark Zuckerberg was talking about it, where ideas don't come out fully formed. They come out and then you got to form them with the team. The team creates, here's an idea, and the team creates the idea and then expands on it, and it becomes this massive thing. That's what's been kind of lacking with our company, is that great ideas. We have a great idea pop and it doesn't form. Like it just doesn't get fully formed.
Right.
Well, being able to fully form ideas and create great experiences for people in that facility, we are all dying to get in there because number one, we're all together. And when we're together, ideas get formed well, things happen.
Sure.
Like I'll give you an example. We want to produce I have an instruction, a piece of content that I think I need to get out. Right now, it's like, it just takes weeks to get this stuff produced. I can just literally in maybe 2 hours, have it on the production team.
Right.
And those kind of things are the speed of delivery, and then having the right place to deliver it, the right experience. I can walk in front of the Mo wall and talk about Mo, right?
Right, absolutely. Well, because there's going to be a lot of cool features to the facility that are going to help you produce everything you need to in one central location without having to transfer people back and forth. And I don't think that's one of the things that when we first started talking about the project and what all it was going to be, again, this comes to me on the premise it's a golf project. And then we start talking about the parts and pieces and your program and how it's all put together. And I'm just like, okay, clubhouse, cool, administrative offices. And then we start digging down in and you're like, okay, now I need 1,500 square feet, 2,000 square feet for my TV studio. And I'm like, for what?
Yeah.
Yeah. TV studio. A TV studio for what? for my golf. And I'm like, what the hell do you mean?
Well, no one really understands our business that much, right?
Right.
Because you think, well, you teach golf, but we're training people all over the world, right?
Right.
And we're communicating with people. I mean, I got clients in almost every country, English speaking mostly, but they're everywhere all over the world, and we have to reach those people. Well, how do we do that, right? And we have to have studios and production teams and all that stuff. But the other thing too is, what really makes me excited is the ability to, at one place, for a person to come in. Like, here's what people think would be crazy. If you said, hey, I want to come get lessons from Graves Golf, I don't know where to send you. Now, I can get you at a golf school, right?
Right.
But if I want to come in for a one-on-one lesson with Graves Golf, we don't have a great experience for that right now.
Sure.
I know it's crazy, right? And so now you'll be able to come in here and say, I'm going to come in, I want to go 2 days, I want to work on my game with the training and you can come into the Graves Golf Performance Center and you can have every part of the game. You can work with our coaches. You can train indoor, outdoor training, short game training, long game putting, every part of the game. Then you train on the course. It's all right here. We've never had that. We've had it kind of at golf courses before, but you still run into the golf course. Like, I can't take you on the course.
Right.
Why can't I? Because they got tee times, right? It's not going to happen here.
Right.
So now we can create an entirely different experience that if you're willing to get serious about it and come in here, we can spend really quality time with you, whether it's 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, 5 day here at the facility. That's what I'm excited about, because we have never been able to do that.
Right. Well,
Not in a really good way.
Well, and it's far from conventional golf training.
Yeah.
I mean, I was describing the 6-hole course to somebody, and I know it has evolved to some degree, but you back when we first started this, it was like 6 holes and 14 tee boxes where you could set up.
It's going to evolve.
You can still do that.
Look, here's the thing. I have no idea how this golf course will end up. I know that it's going to be about 6 holes, maybe. I know that we'll have multiple tee boxes.
It's going to be 6 holes.
Well, I don't know. Like I'm literally out there changing. We change stuff every day. I moved the green the other day. I'm like, move that over there.
Well, so it's funny you say that. I was telling you in one of the past golf projects I worked on, we're standing out there and the golf course architect, he's like pointing, and there's no drawings. There's no, my world, when it comes to design, there's a line.
You have to
next
get
to the
permitted.
line, it says 25 feet or
that's because you're going to have it inspected by
and
somebody.
It's a very black and white scenario. And I remember my first time on a golf course project walking around with the golf architect, and he's like, blah, 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 blah. And the next thing you know, like, this guy is over there with a backhoe digging a hole. And it was like, and there's no drawings. He's just barking stuff out. So this is my second on an actual course construction project, watching Colton and you guys out there. And he's got a stick in one hand, or stakes rather. And he's out there the other day moving the practice green.
Yeah.
East 25 feet.
Yeah. Because here's the thing about it. But kind of, you do it a little bit too, but it's kind of like when you're walking on a golf course, right? You don't see, like, I'm staying on a tee box going, man, that's a big slope on the left, right? That's bigger than I thought it was.
Right.
Oh, and there's a shitload of trees on the right. If I had a shot here, it's going to bounce right into those trees. Like, so you don't know that on a piece of paper. Like, you can't see it on a piece of paper. Now, you can have all the slopes you want on a piece of paper, but you can't see the experience. Then you walk out there and you look at it and you're like, man, I was walking with Manuel. Manuel's the project coordinator for building, and I'm working with Manuel. Manuel comes up to me. Now, this guy is a project manager. He's built lots of golf courses, but he's in charge of making sure the dirt gets moved where it needs to go. Right. That's Manuel's job. And he turns to me and he goes, they're going to hit it in the right on this approach. He goes, it's all going to go in the trees. It's all going to bounce to the right. Now, here's a guy that doesn't even play golf, right? Right. And he knows golf and he knows where the ball is going to land. He's like, you got to level this out to the right, because all the balls will end up down there. Because you can build a golf course and go, it's impossible.
Right. Right.
And so here's Manuel even changing it up. Like, he's moving dirt today to level out the right, to give you a landing area on your approach. Now, these guys all have been in this world, right? But you don't know that until you're on the property. You can't figure it out. Like, you would not on paper go build it like this, and you run into a rock, and you're like, nope, we're going around that. So that's what we're doing out there. And I'm changing it every day, but it's cool because the team's there and you give them the idea and they're doing it. A good example, like, I was with Colton the other day and I'm looking at the creek bed and I'm like, there's a bunch of like trash down in the creek right there. And I'm like, are we going to clean that up? And he's like, I don't know. He goes, here's the thing. He goes, it's kind of cool to be kind of messy down there because it's a disaster. Then you have this beautiful golf course going around this mess, right? And so it's like, if you clean it up, you got to clean it all up. You know, you can't just clean a little bit of it up.
It's a creek, so where do you stop?
Where do you stop, right? So he's like, but if we left it a mess, it's like, don't hit it down there, but look at how beautiful it is. And so I'm like, yeah, so you're playing around with these like creative.
And not mess trashy, thicket and
there's actually old concrete in there where somebody had dumped like,
okay.
It's a mess. It's a mess. It's like the apocalypse down there.
Right.
And then over here is like beautiful Augusta National. It's like, do we leave it? And, you know, it's like, well, we can clean it out later. You know, I don't know. But it's funny how you play around with all this stuff. It's just crazy.
Well, and that's kind of that's the fun aspect of this project is, and I don't get to do this much on the architectural side, but we've done this a lot. We've treated these buildings like a course.
Yeah.
Hey, add this over there.
Oh yeah.
Ooh, what if we do this? And so the whole thing has been evolving. So I'm anxious to see, given where our evolution has led us to this point, what all we're going to actually realize when it all comes together, because
it always does. It's the way things work. It's like you can't solve it. You have to just do it. And then like the idea, like again, my process is that the solution will evolve as the idea develops. So it's like, okay, that didn't work, and that was a good idea, or let's do this here now that we see it, now that it's there. You know, we had a split level tee box, and then and now we're like, you know, you got this big hill to deal with, and we just brought in how much dirt? We moved a shitload of dirt.
I mean, it was a lot. So your lower tier tee deck was probably 6 feet lower than the upper deck. So
you got 40 yards with 6 feet or 50 yards of 6 feet high dirt.
Yeah.
And 30 yards wide, this all brought in. Yeah. And so we might decide, I made the decision one day.
It was more than 2 dump trucks.
Oh yeah. It was 2 days worth of dirt moving. And it was basically like, that's a massive amount of dirt.
And now, so I was out there yesterday walking around with the general contractor. That tee deck is beautiful.
You can play a football game on it. I mean, it's longer than a football field.
Oh yeah. I mean, I was sitting there just looking at it. It's perfectly smooth. And we walked clear down to the south end and we're looking back up towards the houses off to the east. It's like, this is pretty impressive.
Yeah. It'll be when that gets grass, that's going to be so impressive, the tee deck. Well, Bryan, it's so great to have you on the show. Thanks for sharing with us your ideas and your concept. Man, this thing's going to be just an amazing. I can't wait to get through this thing. And I wish I was open today. I wish we were on that thing today.
Well, we're pushing as hard as we can.
I know.
And on behalf of my team, we appreciate you including us in the project. It's not just a construction project. It's not just a golf project. It's a lot more to that to us, and we really appreciate it. And we're excited to get to work with you.
It's been a fun process, and I'm sure we'll keep building out there. Yeah. Who knows what'll next? I know we have ideas for some condos for people to stay in.
I was going to say I don't think there's a podcast long enough to tell everybody the conversations you and I've had for the various ideas and how this thing can evolve. I mean, it's
we're going to develop my mission, and you'll be a part of this whole thing is to develop this whole part of Edmond, Oklahoma. And we have Champions Corner we've talked about.
Yes.
That's another podcast, but we have this whole corner that we're trying to develop in the city of Edmond. It's a golf community and keep going with that.
Yeah. We're looking forward to it. And I can't even imagine what all we're going to get into.
Oh yeah. It'll be fun. Thanks, Bryan.
Thank you.
It's great having you. Hey, I'll see you again the next episode of the Feeling Greatness podcast.